Well, good morning and welcome to Rodeo Houston Live. I'm David Brady, and we've got an exciting show this morning for you, and looking forward to bringing in Dr. Chris Boleman, the president and CEO of the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. And we're going to talk an awful lot about the planning for the 2021 Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Last week, a big announcement that the show was going forward and planning for a full show in 2021, and that got a lot of attention both on our social media platforms, but also in the media as well. So I'm certainly looking forward to a conversation with Dr. Chris Boleman. He'll join us here in just a minute. We're going to start in about a minute. I want to remind those of you who are tuning in to do us a favor and share your Facebook Live feed of Rodeo Houston Live. Feel free to tag somebody that you think might be interested in this conversation. And when we ask, or actually go ahead and start now, drop in some of your questions in the comments section. Let us know what you want to hear today, but also let us know where you're watching from, and let us know that you're tuning in and listening in and watching us here on Rodeo Houston Live. So that being said, it is 11:01. Let's not waste any time. Let me bring in Dr. Chris Boleman, the president and chief executive officer of the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. And Chris, we had you on the last time that you joined us here on Rodeo Houston Live was, I believe, your first or second week on the job as the president and CEO. So if I'm remembering correctly, that was about 3.5 years ago. So hang on. I'm being told 3.5 months ago. Okay, it only seems like 3.5 years ago. How have you been? How's your family? And in particular, the craziness of 2020 continues with the floods here yesterday. How are you hanging in there?
Yeah, good, great way to start. And first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to see everybody and great to be online today. And just as you mentioned, I want to start by just hoping everyone and wishing everyone the best as we go through another ordeal here in 2020, and specifically here, of course, we're talking about Beta that just recently moved through Houston yesterday. Certainly, we had a lot of rain, and so just want to make sure everyone's safe out there and taking care of themselves, and hopefully they're able to get to where they need to get. But if they can't, make sure hopefully everyone's staying home and staying safe with the weather that we have. So it looks like maybe today's weather is a bit better, and hopefully as we continue down the path, we'll get better and better on the weather front for sure. But other than that, David, things are going well. Randy and I are both well, and as you know, I continue to just take the most optimistic attitude that we can. That's just the way I attack life, and that's what we're going to do right now, and that's what we continue to do. So we're blessed, and so again, we'll make the best of every situation. And 2020 is definitely one of those that you kind of have to write that message down to remind yourself to continue to be optimistic. And as I like to say a lot during this year, is that there'll be a light at the end of the tunnel, and I think we're heading in the right direction. So, but everybody's good, family's good, and how about you guys? You okay?
I'm doing great. Everybody's happy and healthy and safe in the Brady household. So let's not bury the lead too much. Let's get into the big announcement last week that the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo is going forward and planning for a full 2021 show. Let me just open it up with an easy one. What does that mean?
Yeah, one of the things that the new kind of things I've been saying lately is that full doesn't mean normal, right? And so so I'll start there and just say, absolutely, we're planning for a full show. And we thought that was in the best interest of our organization to go ahead and make that plan. As you know, we lost 12 days last year, and we have so many people that are involved in our show, starting with our 35,000 volunteers that work tirelessly to help us prepare. And this is a point in time where we're receiving a lot of questions and what's going to happen. And of course, we have vendors, we have exhibitors, we have young people that are purchasing livestock projects right now, and of course we have rodeo contestants. I mean, and so and our patrons in the city of Houston. So we just felt with everything that where we are, we felt it was important to go ahead and make an announcement that, hey, right now we're planning for a full show. There's every reason to believe that's what we should be doing planning wise. This is not just a 20-day event. This is a year-long plan to plan this show, and not to mention the things we do before the 20 days with barbecue and all the lead up and everything that we have going on. We just felt it necessary to say at this point, we are planning for a full show. Of course, we're looking at other scenarios. just like everybody else in our industry. But certainly wanted to make the announcement that we are planning a full show in 2021.
So planning a full show, you said that doesn't mean normal show. One of the things that we've heard in the last week or two is there's been some cancellations of other big events that are between now and the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo in March. What do you think separates this organization and some of the others that have already announced cancellation or significant changes to their event?
Well, I think first and foremost, we have more time right now. As I said in May to a number of folks, and I'll say it again today, we still have a lot of time on the calendar to work through. And so I think, as you know, because we've talked about this several times, that's our biggest advantage, is that since March, we've been looking forward to 2021 and have had a lot of time to stop and reflect about what others are doing, learn from. We've talked to other festivals, other fairs, other big events. We're starting to see things open back up at a lower percentage point of view. And so we just feel like more than anything, particularly with just the amount it takes for us to prepare and the amount of people it takes, that we are comfortable of going ahead and planning for that full show.
And let me drop in a reminder to put your questions in the comment section on Facebook Live on this Rodeo Houston live event with Dr. Chris Boleman. Also, I just want to give a shout out to folks. I'm not going to name everybody, but we got a lot of people already commenting and telling us where they're watching from. I've seen Tomball a number of times, North Dakota. Let's see, we got folks, Compton, California. We got a request for Dolly Parton next year at the Rodeo Houston lineup. Everybody loves Dolly, don't they? Yes, Rosenberg, College Station, your hometown up there in College Station. A lot of requests for artists coming in. Yeah, so people watching from all over. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Also, we love our committees. So if you're watching and you're a volunteer, one of the 35,000 plus volunteers, drop in your committee. Give a little shout out and love for those hardworking committees. So,
hey, David, hey, let me say one thing. Last night was the first time that I'm aware of that we had a virtual fundraiser for the Rabbit Committee, specific to the Rabbit Committee. And so I got on for a little bit, and man, the energy and enthusiasm with those folks, and raising dollars for the kids for awards and so forth for the 2021 show, it was awesome. And so I just wanted to shout out to the Rabbit Committee on a pretty cool night last night.
So looking at all these towns, Bowie, Texas, Wyoming's represented, Boca Raton, Florida, everybody's comments on here, most people's comments are they're ready to rodeo. Do you think that our constituents, the volunteers, the people in the city of Houston and the outlying communities, do you think they're ready to come back?
I think so. So yeah, and so that's a good lead into just some of the things as we're prepping for 2021 that we've been working on behind the scenes to get a full snapshot of kind of what's happening with our constituents, with our patrons, with the exhibitors, the folks I mentioned earlier. And I think it's important to point out, and we will do it over and over, as you know, is that the health and well-being of human beings is still our top priority. With everybody and all the things going on in the world, we have to move forward, and we will move forward with the health and well-being of people at the first. That's our first most important thing that we have to consider as we're planning. And so when I said earlier, full doesn't mean normal, I do think that the world is changing. I think some things, even as we move forward and get through the pandemic, there's going to be changes in how we have to do things. And some of that includes, sanitation more often, which we were already committed to last year, hand washing. And so that's what I mean by the new normal, is that it's still going to have maybe a little bit of a different look in terms of just how we prepare for big events regardless. And so as a part of that, and I think this is the drill down here, David, to talk specifically about our audience, is we have been working with all of our venues, especially here in Houston, emphasis with the area in Houston, the other sporting teams and everybody else. We've been working collaboratively, and we've been talking to our fans. And overwhelmingly what we're hearing is if we take the right precautions, we do the things that we know we can do, that people do want a rodeo. I did several interviews last week, and it was very clear that people want, this is such a great event for the community. And people believe so much in what we do here in Houston, that they want us to have a show. We want to have a show. And of course, as a part of that, we want to ensure that we have a safe, it's safe for everybody to be able to attend, and we're doing our part. As a part of that conversation, David, if it's okay, I'm going to segue into, as we're planning for 2021, in addition to working with venues, we also have got the NRG Park here on activities that are here. We've sent surveys out as a part of a relationship with a consulting firm to get what's going to make people comfortable. And so we do know that there are things that any other big event is going to do as well to ensure the safety of our folks. But overwhelmingly, the majority is, yes, we definitely want to be able to come back and have our 2021 rodeo. And then lastly, the third part, as we're looking at 2021, is we put together a health and well-being task force that's made up of community leaders and volunteer leaders in the health and medical fields here in Houston. They're meeting once every couple of weeks, and it's helping us to strategize as we forecast and what we're going to have to do to pull 2021 together. And all of those things together, that multi-tiered approach is helping us kind of get to the point we are today.
So that's a good segue for me into one of the things that came out last week as part of this announcement of planning for a full show was the Stay Safe Pledge. Stay Safe for Rodeo pledge specifically. It's a hashtag Stay Safe for Rodeo pledge. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know that's been a result of all the hard work that's been done by the Health and Wellbeing Task Force, as well as a lot of work and conversation with volunteers and committees.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's our commitment to the community, probably more than anything else. So we have been meeting with a lot of different folks through the task force and then individually throughout the community via Zoom, as many of our meetings have been. And so we're trying to get a sense of, what can we do to help for 2021. And what we heard is that, hey, there's something that each one of us can do to make our community safer at this point. And so obviously we moved forward last week of, if we do some things now, it can have a great impact on us later. And no question, as we think about our 2021 show, the more we try to crush this virus now, because this is a 100-year pandemic we're in the middle of, the more we can do to do our part as a rodeo family, the better off we can be as we look towards 2021. And so as a part of that commitment to the community, as a part of that commitment to the health and well-being of our citizens, we did say last week, as a part of our announcement and planning for 2021, let's all do our part now. And of course, that starts with masking up. And so we know what the local guidelines are. We know what the policies are. So we want to make sure we're lock in step with what's happening locally. And so we made a commitment to mask up. We announced yesterday we actually have some rodeo masks that people can get and purchase, and so to be a part of the brand. And again, we feel so strongly the rodeo's commitment to the community that for us, masking up is important. We continue to wash up, right? And we know if we can wash up, wash our hands, the data is very clear. That makes us healthier. That makes us safer. We've talked about the third one is backup, and let's give people space. And so the 6 foot or whatever the number is, it makes sure that we're providing people space and we're not working into people's space, because we know that's a way that the virus can spread. And then at the same time, we got to listen up every single day. And you know this more than most because we work together, is every single day we're hearing new things, we're learning new things. And so we need to continue to pay attention to what our officials and our experts are telling us. And following those, whatever those best practices, whatever those guidelines are now. If we follow those now, that gives us the best chance to implement that full show in 2021. So, mask up, wash up, back up, listen up. And as you know, if we do all those, that gives us the best opportunity to buckle up in 2021.
And just to make it clear, because, and I'm going to touch on a little bit of a sensitive topic here, but no matter what, in 2020, if you make any sort of announcement of we want you to mask up or want you to do this, it's going to create positive and negative feedback. no one is taking a stance on any of the positions here. It's all about doing what's best for the community, staying healthy so that we can have a rodeo in 2021, right?
I think that's exactly correct. What can we do to ensure a safer community, and particularly as we lead into the 2021 show? Exactly.
Okay. So one of the questions that's come up, and this is getting a little bit into the weeds on a topic, but I think it's an important one. And if you don't have the exact answer, we understand. But there's been a couple of folks who have posted questions about, their kids getting livestock for the show in 2021. So to those young exhibitors who you talked about already as being such an important part of the experience in the show, what do you tell those folks about their commitments this year?
Yeah, I think our commitment is that we're planning for a full show. And so right now that's where we are. We also are considering other scenarios if that's not the case. But one of the things, if we can have a full show, which again, we plan to do, but a lot of our decisions moving forward and what we've talked a lot about internally and even externally as well, is the decisions we make on what to implement. If for some reason there's some modified version, we're going to focus on our mission. And the mission as a nonprofit is what's going to drive exactly how we're going to implement if we have to do it in some way. So as we think about our mission, it's about it's called the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. And so we know there's a big piece there, the livestock show. We know our commitment to education. We know our commitment to youth. We know our commitment to promoting agriculture. And so as we start looking at other options, if that is what has to happen, then that's how we will go about it. We will talk about it as it relates to the mission of our show. As you know, a lot of our junior exhibitors were not able to participate last year because of the shutdown on the 8th day. And so we definitely know that. We've heard that. We've made a commitment, I think, to reward those exhibitors last year, to provide them some exhibitor funds back for their feed cost and daily care costs. We did some there. We made a really big impact there. But again, our decisions, if not a full show, which again we're planning for, would be highly related and based on what our mission of the show is.
What's the timeline on some of these things you talk about? I want to make it very clear. You've said it probably 15 times already during this interview. Planning for a full show, going forward, planning. I can tell you personally, that's the focus for me and my team. So, but in terms of timelines and decision making, is there something that's been put together in terms of dates and critical dates?
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of people announce kind of 60, 90 days out, kind of what their plans are. And I think that makes sense, right? And so I think we're in that same boat. I think we can look towards kind of between December and January, of seeing a lay of the land, working very closely again with that health and wellbeing task force to help advise us on what those decisions are and when those decisions can be made. What we have heard overwhelmingly is that folks are willing to work with us. They know it's an interesting and definitely a time where it's very unpredictable. But I definitely think as we roll into December and then turn the calendar to the new year, and particularly January would be 60 days out. So I think between that window of December and January, we'll be able to, I think that's our kind of time frame to make some decisions. And so some obviously the significant decisions, but at the same time, we're looking at this every day. We're seeing things every day. The example that I use a lot is just look at what's happening in the world right now from college football's point of view. Some conferences announced early, some announced late, some are picking up and starting later. And so it's hard to maybe circle a date, but I would say within that window is kind of where we'll be.
Gotcha. So, and I don't want you to give us any details if the answer is yes to this question, but are you in the organization staying in close contact with local leaders and decision makers into what's going on and keeping them informed?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. This is a community event. And when you bring 2 million plus people onto a grounds over 2.4 million, whatever the number could be, over 20 days, and the work that we do with the city, the work that we do with the county, Our relationship with the county as NRG Park is a county facility. The relationship we have with our first responders, the relationship we have with everybody within the city as well. Yes, this is a team effort, and we have to we are continuing to communicate. We're continuing to talk. We also have a stakeholder group that includes folks from a number of different communities within the community, so to speak, so that we're making the best decisions we can. This is not making a decision in a vacuum. There's just so many parts that impact so many people in Houston, and for that matter, across the state, that certainly we have to talk. It's important for us to continue to talk to all those folks so we can make the best decisions possible.
So a lot of folks dropping in their committees and letting us know where they're watching from. So keep adding those committees in there. We've got gatekeepers have chimed in. We've got several of the wine committees have already said howdy. Rabbits, and everybody was excited about that event you referenced earlier, Chris, on the fundraiser for rabbits. Volunteers, and I'm guessing that a majority of the people that are viewing us today on Rodeo Houston Live are volunteers, part of committees. What do you say to them? They're so anxious to get back to having their meetings, supporting the mission, supporting the organization. I know patience is something that's worn thin on most of us in the last 6 or 7 months, but what do you tell them who are so anxious to help and support the organization about what they can do now and what you're expecting of them in the future?
Yeah, I think the first thing is, as I hope our volunteers know, we did add inside the membership portal a place where we're trying to keep things updated, David, just as much as we can internally to our volunteers, so they know exactly what's happening. And kind of the term I've been using lately is we just got to keep chipping away. And so the volunteers are obviously the lifeblood of this organization. And what's been so pleasantly positive, I don't know the right way to word that, is we have done a ton of Zooms. I know people are Zoomed out, but when committees have started meeting via Zoom, and just seeing their energy and enthusiasm and the positivity from those meetings, it just goes to show the power of our mission and the power of our network and the power of what we do. And so we're not going to be able to meet everybody's needs, and we know everybody wants to get together face to face, and certainly we are starting a plan, as you know, to start up meetings from a hierarchy point of view, and we're putting that plan together with the Health and Wellbeing Task Force. And so we are definitely starting to get some momentum and getting moving in that direction. With the understanding of, at the end of the day, we have to make sure our audiences and our volunteers and stakeholders are safe. And so that continues to be the priority. We talk daily about what does that look like for us in terms of opening up. You have to keep in mind, the park has not had very many events at all here, and no public events here at the park since March. And so we're a part of that. And so as we begin to make plans to open up, we're just asking, I know patience is a virtue and patience is tough, but we're asking for that continued patience. But I do see us kind of moving and starting to move into the direction of obviously planning 2021, but with some more involvement and bigger than a Zoom, other strategies. And so I think we're moving in that direction.
So I'm looking at some of the comments that say that we're sold out of masks, which I was unaware of, but I can tell you that if we are, that we're restocking and they'll be available quickly as well. A lot of folks still chiming in from their committees. Ticket Service Committee, Jennifer and Griselda both chiming in. Got folks up in Fort Worth. When I look at this rolling comments and it's going nonstop, and all the people that are making their comments or where they're watching from, it's just a reminder, while it is the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, this is really an international event. And I was on a call recently where they talked about the pandemic and one of the dominoes falling being the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo being closed that day in March of this year. So it'll be, we're going to come up on almost a year when we open the gates back up. What are you looking forward to most? Assuming that we have the full show and as we're planning to do so, what's the one thing that Dr. Boleman's going to go seek out and find or do just as a get back to normalcy moment?
Yeah, that's a tough one because there's so many things, but I will say this: it's actually going to be something that happens before March. if we continue to progress and hopefully move in the direction we are going and make a commitment to crushing the virus right here, right now, there is nothing that compares to the energy and the buzz of the second floor up here at the NRG Center, pre-rodeo, when every room has got volunteers and meetings are happening, right? I mean, there's something to be said about turning that calendar to January. And there's just something to be said about working up and down the hallway and seeing the focus of people regarding whatever their committee's doing, their important piece of the puzzle, and just again, just hearing and seeing people in the fellowship of why we do what we do. And for me, I mean, I'm getting chills just saying that, but for me, just seeing that normalcy before the show ever starts, before we get to barbecue or before we get to March 2nd or whatever that first event is, just knowing the planning and the enthusiasm that happens and the buzz again that happens in this building, for me, that's when I'll just kind of shake my head and go, okay, we're back, we're ready. I literally think about that moment of walking out the door and seeing that almost daily here lately, for sure.
So this is why you're the president and CEO, because I'm going to be much more transparent and much more superficial. I'm going out to the Midway Gourmet's, one of his booths, and getting something deep fried.
Yeah, well, see, I actually thought about that, but as you know, my wife's a dietitian, so I just kind of just stayed away from that, and just went that direction.
No, you're right. There's so many things that I think, and honestly, I think you and I, who work here and think about these things all day, probably can come up with a million things, but I bet our volunteers. So I'm going to throw that one out there to everybody. What's the one thing that you want to put in the comments on our Facebook Live, Rodeo Houston Live chat on Facebook? What's the one thing that you want to get to do, experience, see, that'll just make you know rodeo's back and Houston Livestock Show and rodeo is back in March of 2021? Because for me, I say that about something deep fried, but I want to see mutton busting. I want to see the calf scramble. I want to watch, one of the Wright brothers get on the back of one of those broncs and take it a full 8 seconds and get a really high score. And I want to see those kids walking their steers into the arena. So I'm with you. It's everything, and it's the smile on the volunteers' faces and the kids and everybody. And when that first artist, whoever it is, on opening night hits that first note, it's going to feel real again. So there's a lot to do there. So we've talked a lot about planning 2021, and I know that's what the majority of your focus has been since you became president and CEO. But what's been the most rewarding part since you've taken this position about 3.5 months ago?
Yeah, I think it's just the overwhelming support that we get, that any of us get, and the network that we have, and really the rodeo family as a whole, right? And so there's a lot of things going on in the world right now. I don't think there's any debate about that, but there's something to be said about coming together for one mission, for one goal, and so it's just so encouraging, and to get notes like, what can we do? What can we do to help? Just one after another. It's in our DNA as a rodeo. It's in our DNA as our volunteers of sure, we may not all agree on everything, but you know what? We come together here, and that has been the overwhelming message of hope, of optimism, of this is ours, and what can we do together collectively to make it the very best. And for me, that's not about anything extravagant. It's not about who's going to play in the stadium. It's about how we focus and come together as one. That's by even through these tough times. I mean, if you'd have told me in May this is where we would be in September, toughest of times. We all still are doing everything that we can do as a group, all of us, staff, volunteers, executive committee officers, all the above, that we are still so committed to doing what's best for the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, focused on that mission, focused on helping others, focused on giving back. And that's hard to measure, but that's just what it is. That's why this place is so cool and like no other.
So in the comments, we're getting a lot of folks talking about their things they're looking forward to the most getting back to it when we go in March of 21. I'm happy to see things like deep fried oatmeal cream pie, corn dogs. So people after my own heart, but also Corral Club Party, the Wine Garden getting a lot of love, not surprising. Frankly, I think that might be many of my relatives that are making that comment on the Wine Garden. I want to make a couple of come back and clear up one thing on the mask. We have new masks that are in stock now, and we have more on order. So if you want one of the Rodeo Houston face masks, they are available. So you can get those now. One of the questions that came up that I think is a good one is, have you started to book artists? I know the answer to that. It's the one of the biggest kept secrets in Houston every year. So the answer is yes. And a significant amount of the artist lineup has already been secured, which I think is a great sign.
100% agree. Yeah. And we've had, I mean, well, how am I lost my train of thought there, but we have had so much positive comments from the entertainment industry. Keep in mind, you know, those guys haven't been able to play since March as well. And so they're very optimistic. They love what we do here. We've had so much positive response from that industry, and it's full speed ahead with those guys for sure, David.
So I asked you what, you know, some of the bright moments were. What the obvious challenge that everybody knows you're going through in your new role as president CEO has been dealing with this specifically. But is there any other moment that has really stood out now that you've been sitting in that chair for coming up on 4 months that you weren't expecting, besides the obvious of the pandemic, right? Or maybe better way to put it, instead of saying not expecting, but that has surprised you?
Yeah, I don't think there's nothing that really comes to mind for me other than kind of what we've already. I just have to say, 2020, nothing surprises me anymore. For this year, I mean, I try to walk in every day, turn the light on, and find the light, and so I don't think there's even been challenges. I think there are probably more opportunities for us. But I mean, it's just been such an interesting time that we just kind of just get here and buckle up and keep pushing ahead. And there's a lot of things happening, and 2020 has been so difficult on so many people. And you know, I guess I don't know if this is so much of a surprise or just an aha moment, but with everything that's going on and people going through very difficult times in their family because of COVID-19, and that they can we do here. And you would think as we prioritize things in life, you just realize just how important what we do here is for so many people. And it's just so refreshing that even when things may not look great, this is a place people come for hope and optimism, and that's the way we're going to lead. And I don't know, I'm probably getting long-winded here. I can't put into words just how positive and how everybody just continues to believe in what we do here. And I think that's really important. In times like these, that's even more important.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a poignant question here. So in something like this pandemic, whether Hurricane Harvey, financial crisis, anything that happens major like that has an impact on society, you see a lot of businesses failing, and then you see some who come out the other side flourishing. Regardless of what happens in 2021, 5 years down the road, how do you think Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo will be looking as it relates to coming out of this pandemic and what's going on?
I don't think anything changes. I think we are who we are in a good way. I think our mission speaks for itself. I think what we do for the community, what we do for young people this year, even in the midst of all this, let's keep in mind that we surpassed $500 million in giving. I don't see any of that going away. I think as we come through it, I think we'll learn from it like we'll learn from anything. And I think we have to take that approach. But this is so unique and so special. I don't see that going away. And I think we'll continue to grow. I think we'll continue to expand on what we do. I think that our people that work with us, that are volunteers, that are partners, that are sponsors, donors, all the above. I just think we continue to improve on what we do. And, you know, every single business and every single human being for that matter is going to go through hard times. This is a tough year. And we've got to get it behind us, and we've got to just keep plowing ahead. And I think we'll learn there are things we can do better. And as you know, I mean, there are things that we can see. Let's take Zoom technology for a second, where we've been able to do things differently that we couldn't have done before. And so we can find the positives even in the midst of all this and come out on the other side. But I think 5 years from now, this will be in the rearview mirror. We'll look back on what we learned from, but we'll still be who we are, which is just an outstanding organization that's focused on youth, that's focused on education, that's focused on agriculture, it's focused on community, and all the above.
So one of the things, as someone who's been a full-time employee now for coming up on just 1 year, and going through this, I am so impressed with the history of the volunteers and the leadership from the executive committee and the officers, and all the volunteers and staff throughout the years, and how they have created such a tremendous foundation for the long-term success. And I don't want to sound too, I do want to sound optimistic. I just feel like that this is one of the organizations that is set up to thrive once this is all said and done. And I think that's a testament to the incredible work that's been done by the committee and leadership throughout the years.
Yep. No, I think you said it right. I think that's 100% right. We have great leaders within the organization. That's a significant part of how we've been successful. And that continues on as we move ahead. The foresight of the folks that have come before us has been so powerful, and it's our duty, our responsibility, our job to continue that legacy. And I think as we come through these difficult times, that legacy is going to be even more important and will be more impactful as we start to look back.
All right, we're going to start to wrap it up, but I asked people to give me their thing they're really looking forward to seeing, experiencing, hearing for that first time in 2021. And I got to give the person credit, because I think she hit the nail on the head here. I lost the name. I'll go back and thank her. Bob Tallman's voice. You know what? That is a great example of when you know Rodeo Houston is here, when those dulcet tones come out of that deep baritone pipes of Bob Tallman.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all that, right? I mean, it's all that mixed together in an environment. It's the smells, it's the visuals, it's Bob's voice, it's Boyd's, it's all the above, right? And so there's just it's a season, and you just as you walk through the gate, you know you're here, and I'm so looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, all of our announcers, Patty Smith down on the dirt talking to a mutton busting winner or calf scramble winner. It's all fantastic, and I can't wait to hear all of it. Let's recap though, for those people who might have come in at the middle or end here. Dr. Chris Boleman, you made the announcement last week, planning for a full 2021 show. That's where you are today, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's where we are today. We are planning accordingly. If things don't work out, we have a number of other scenarios, but right now we're planning full. We're optimistic. We're hopeful. We continue to work with a number of folks inside the community that can help us make the best decisions possible, with the number one priority, the health and well-being of everybody involved, because this is that's what we do. That's what we're about, and that'll continue to be the focus moving ahead.
All right. So for everybody watching here on Rodeo Houston Live, what are your final thoughts? What do you want them to leave here today knowing?
Well, I think first of all, let me just thank everybody that's a part of the show and what you're doing. We can't be face to face yet. I hope that day is sooner rather than later, but rest assured, we are so appreciative of what everybody is doing as we're managing through these times. We know that there are people that have been through some really rough times. And so we want to be very, very purposeful in making sure that they're comfortable. We know as we work through the future, it's with you individuals, each individual that's watching, each individual that's a part of our rodeo. It's with your best interest in mind. Let's continue to do our part. Let's stay safe. Let's crush this virus. Let's follow all the protocols and guidelines that are currently in place. We've talked about masking up. We've talked about washing up. We've talked about backing up and listening up. And I think if we do our part now, let's all do our part as a community, we get to where we want to get to in March of 2021. And I just want to thank everybody for all you're doing. Everybody is making sacrifices, not just for this show, but in life. And I think, again, once we come out, I think we'll be better for it. And I just want to thank everybody, and especially the 35,000 volunteers that stay so committed to what we're doing and working through all we have to work through as we go into 2021.
Dr. Chris Boleman, President and CEO of Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Thank you so much for carving out time with us today. I know how busy you are because I try to get on your calendar, and you are a busy man. Meetings and conversations nonstop. I'm appreciative of all the hard work and energy you're putting in and enthusiasm in doing it to making happen what you just said. That's a full show in 2021. Thanks, Chris.
You bet. Energy and enthusiasm. That's what we've got. So we'll keep plowing ahead. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. And I want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in today on Rodeo Houston Live on Facebook Live. And I want to especially thank the Rodeo Houston team who's helped put us on the air, keep us on the air, and manage all these questions and comments. So thanks to our team of Clint, Emily, Steve, and Mark. I appreciate all your effort today. I'm David Brady, thanking all of you for watching today and saying, please stay healthy, stay safe, and be kind to everybody. Thanks.